Good day everyone, I am Lanorias and today I will discuss the chapter 1. Development of our business culture. The earliest day of the formation of communities, individual has been involved in economic activity. In our early man engaged in business operation when he produced more than he could eat of a crop or game animal or fish and traded the surplus for something produced or caught by a neighbor. The business expanded and spread from its humble origin in the distant region of man's prehistoric past, becoming more complicated and extensive until it came to rule the general culture of human society. The business has already advanced significantly in antiquity. Descent have uncovered business transactions recorded on clay tablets are 6,000 years. The Hammurabi Code, which was published around 2000 BC, had rules governing business dealings. The salary structure under the Roman Empire was well defined. According to tools and other commercial operations like banking and insurance have been around since medieval times. The Philippines is located at the crossroads of historic trade and migration. According to historians, Arab tradesmen began traveling to the island as early as the 9th century. By the 12th century, China's traders was largely taking over Philippine trade and had even started commercial settlements there. The trade between Manila and Acapulco in Mexico, known as the galleon trade, took place mostly in the 18th century. By trading on the annual voyage of the galleon to Acapulco and returning, the Spanish population in Manila strove to accumulate wealth. Nevertheless, this renowned trade contributed very little to the development of the Philippines and almost nothing to the fortunes of the Spaniards. The three individual pattern of specialization in the colonial economy was shaped in this way. The Spaniards served as the governors, the Chinese and sampling mestizos served as the wholesalers, tradespeople, and capitalists and business owners, while the Filipino worked as the farm laborers and sellers. This pattern was present throughout the colonial era up to 1898, and parts of it can still be seen today. The nature of business in the Philippines and other free nations is mostly capitalistic. This implies that society looks to private businessmen for leadership when it comes to managing the business process. Business is capitalistic if we have private ownership of non-personal means of production. The state does not own any of the following: land, industrial plants, equipment, factories, transportation, infrastructure, or other capital goods. Production for private account. This implies that manufacturing, which is necessary for private profits, results from private initiative. Business profits are distributed to private persons or organizations. Next is voluntary saving and the institution of bank credit. Every economy must carry out a number of fundamental tasks, including deciding what, how much, for whom, and in what quantity to produce, allocating the commodities and services generated, fostering economic growth, distributing rewards, and maintaining international connections. Prices act as markers between consumers and producers in a capitalist economy, also referred to as a market economy. The interaction between buyers and sellers must ultimately resulted in the setting of prices, was the driving force behind the development of the market. The private owner's role in engaging in business operations is to generate a sizable profit through the use of his useful resources. The biggest motivator for economic drive on the part of resource owners is the desire for profit. Although an ideal market economy is difficult to achieve due to the existence of several market imperfections, which lead to some issues with resources allocation. Capitalism functions along these lines. In the Philippines, capitalism has evolved since the time of the barangays, which produced all of the necessary goods on their own. Production was just adequate to cover the needs of the barangay members, and the residents only engaged in the little amount of trading. The coming of the Spaniard compelled the locals to increase their production in order to sustain the agrarian Spanish authority. New and more sophisticated production techniques, such as the introduction of new crops and the development of skills, were brought about by the latter's arrival. The so-called market economy does not function perfectly in the Philippines. It's because just like it does in any other country, as there are still economic inequalities to be seen, because production resources are concentrated in the hands of a small number of people, and because people's purchasing power varies. It can often be difficult to manage the basic economic function of what, how much, and for whom to create. The goal of the private owner to make the most money, which acts as his driving force for production, can lead to the development of luxury goods and are only purchasable by a small number of people, which can include the requirements of the majority. In order to meet the needs of customers with lower purchasing power and to advance the welfare of majority as a whole, government regulation and intervention in the workings of the capitalist economy are therefore necessary in the Philippines. The numerous flaws in capitalism causes numerous hostile responses and other criticisms, which in return spark the emergence of various forms of ideologies, the most prominent of which is Karl Marx. Shared ownership of the means of production, as opposed to capitalism, individual ownership, is the same in both systems. Marx clearly distinguishes between socialism and communism. While communism has already attained the aforementioned degree of abundance, socialism does not yet create enough things to cover all the material requirements of each citizen. In socialism, man creates as a result of rewards like pay, whereas in communism, production happens automatically since work is natural to the participants. With the advent of communism, security and the demand of tangible reward vanish, leaving no room for social classes, exploitation, or the state. The 5th and 6th century commercial revolution served as the foundation of modern business culture. An enormous surge in the trade and commerce resulted from geographic discoveries, the importation of luxury goods from the East, including spices, silk, perfume, and other goods, and the understanding by Europeans that they are tangible possessions worth purchasing and savoring. The need to satisfy the growing demand for commodities. The Industrial Revolution followed. The production constraints that prevented the demand from being fully satisfied were eliminated by mechanical invention. Trade and industry have expanded as a result of mass production. The methods and practices of business activity were defined and developed. The final step in shaping our corporate culture into what is now the acceptance of the laissez-faire philosophy, which holds the competition can be relied upon to direct economic activity towards socially beneficial purposes. It is true that commerce has existed since the dawn of civilization. The next is the study of business. Every single person in the Philippine economy is affected by the current business culture in such a broad and pervasive way that it is advised to have a clear understanding of what it means. Every person who lives in a city, a town, young or a barrio if ever they engage in business transactions to purchase the food they consume, the clothing they wear, the items they require, and the items that fulfill their wants and desires. It is much more crucial for a business student to have a solid understanding of what the term business actually implies when they are studying as a fundamental subject like company organization. Some business are obviously businesses, while others are obviously not. The borders of division aren't always so obvious as attributes for the term business. A group of individuals is a variety of abilities who works together in a business setting to generate items or services that may be sold to others for a profit above their own cost. Or it may be viewed as the framework via which profit-seeking individuals organize and control economic activity, and continually conducted legal activity that involves purchasing, selling, producing, financing, or the provision of service in exchange of money is considered a business. The objective of a businessman. The goal of a businessman is to earn profit, which in a business sense may be defined as the difference between the selling price of a good or service and its cost. The objective of the businessman is to sell his product or service in such a manner as to recover not only what is actual cost to him, but also something in excess of cost to provide a reward personal efforts and risk. But by adhering to the rules of effective administration and organization, businessmen expect to make a profit. And today I will discuss the kinds of business. So, nearly all of a person's social and economic interests combined are represented in the scope and nature of business activities. W.R. Stengel divides commercial activities into three major categories. The first one is commerce, industry, and last is the service. So, when we say commerce, when products are moved from their site of production to their point of consumption, it is said to be the course of commerce. It comprises activity directly related to the transfer of products such as purchasing, selling, marketing, and retailing. Other operations that fall under the category of commerce include gathering of products, grading, warehousing, transportation, insurance, and last is the financing of transfer. Next category is industry. So when we say industry, genetic industries derived from the word genesis, or beginning include agriculture, forestry, and fish culture, natural resources. Extractive industries include mining, lumbering, hunting, and fishing. They are characterized by extraction of goods from natural resources. Industry is mainly concerned with the production of forms utility or products that are used by either consumption and are therefore referred to as customers' goods, or industry in the subsequent production of other goods and therefore referred to as producers' goods. The last category is the service. It is the third big category of businesses, the services. This business provides personal services or attend to customers' individual requirements. Businesses that provide services are not involved in the production of things or the buying and selling of items. Production and distribution of motion pictures, theaters of stage performances, television, and similar services are also considered recreation. Did you know why people go into a business? So here are the several reasons why people start their own businesses. They could start a business as employers and owners or as employees. The choice to pursue a career in business rather than a profession like the priesthood, medicine, or law. Maybe the outcome of years' worth of meticulous planning and mindful consideration. Another reason could be that there are no simpler or more fulfilling ways for someone to make a living. So these are the values are. First is the social approval. So when we say social approval, the merchant enjoys a prominent position in the neighborhood. The military, the landlord, the priest, or the doctor used to be viewed more favorably by society. Our businessmen like the Sorianos del Rosarios Delgados, Yesmael, Jobel, Ayala, Hinareses, Puyas, and other business tycoons enjoy positions in society equal or even higher than any other calling. So the next is profit. Profit is a primarily driving force behind starting a business. People engage in this activity in the hopes of receiving financial rewards as rewards for their labors. Although profit is primarily consideration, business people today recognize the value of living standard, even more weight, and profit levels that were once considered socially acceptable have also changed. Third one is service to the community and to the employee. So, when we say there is a maxim in business which states that the profit must who serve best. Service is rendered to one's own employees as well as the larger community. So, the role of industrial relation in the company has broadened to include a variety of initiatives aimed at improving employees' welfare. The fourth one is personal satisfaction. The social standing granted to those who work in business contributes to this feeling of personal fulfillment. It also results from the abundance of chances provided to business people to satisfy their needs for creativity, their desire to see the tangible results of their labors. So the fifth one is livelihood. People start businesses in order to make a living. Working for a commercial, industrial, or service firm is preferably the only way to enter the world of labor in the hopes of making a living due to how prevalent business is in human activity. So the sixth one is power. Some people go in business with the hope of one day rising to position of leadership, power, and distinction. The successful businessman, whether an employer or manager-employee, has influence in the community, uses the resources he controls to influence others and has authority over the people who report to him. The seventh one is protection. People frequently inherit businesses and choose to run themselves rather than incurring a loss by selling them. Suddenly, taking over the business his father left behind for the purpose of protection by maybe a man who was musically inclined as a young man and who appeared to pursue a career in the art. The reason why people go into business are as infinite as the choices that are open to individuals, and the motivators thus it is also important why we should have a knowledge of statistics, economics, sociology, and psychology. When we say statistics, it is the study of pattern trends and decision-making theory. It is possible to think about management as a logical process that may be described in terms of mathematical relationships and symbols. When used to solve physical management issues like inventory, materials, production control, mathematics has been found to be very helpful. Next is economics. So economics is the study of how people gather limited resources to satisfy their needs. Due to the producers limited or precious resources, he must aware of the various combinations he can make with the materials at his disposal. Then the third one is sociology. So when we say sociology, it examines how people interact with society while being conscious for their responsibilities, understanding of all societal elements. It's possible to think of management as a system of social or cultural interaction. A productive team may accelerate any organization's growth, and sociology can produce managers who can inspire their workforce to fulfill organizational objectives. And the last one is psychology. The science of psychology focuses on the investigation of the mind. The businessman may execute various personal policies and interact with other members of the organization more effectively by having a working grasp of the ideas that inspire individuals to perform their tasks and their attitude and reaction to various situations. So there are choice of particular business. First is available funds, special aptitude and interest. Third is training, education, and experience. Fourth is social status of the business. Third is the competitive situation. Next is location factor and social values of the particular community. The presence of potential demand. Social significance of business. And last is the secret of business success. Oh, according to Harold Shannon, in the business world, everyone is paid in two coins, cash and experience. Take the experience first, the cash will come later. And that will be all I report, and thank you and God bless us.